Some brands offer you low finance, or cashback, or servicing.
Renault don't do ors. We do ands. The Renault Kadjar with 1.91% APR and €1,000 cashback and 3 years servicing, saving you thousands. Renault, the brand with the ands. Visit your local Renault dealer. Finance is made under a hire purchase agreement. Terms and conditions apply. Deposit required. Subject to lending criteria. See Renault.ie.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are, with Dan Z, the podcast you're looking for. This is... yes.
Previously on Coffee with Kenobi.
But the photos, I was like, I wonder if there's something there. I love the best family portrait.
I know that could be really fun.
There's some fun stuff you could do there. They also have they also have a category under photos for just funniest.
Nice.
What that means could be anything.
It is, nice. I wonder if there will be a scatological humor category. Yeah.
So
that means open. Fart jokes, by the way. Yeah, I wonder.
This is Vanessa Marshall, Harrison Dula from Star Wars Rebels, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
Yes, always entertaining picking out the clips for the beginning of these shows. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Coffee with Kenobi, show number 133. I'm your host, Dan Z, drinking One Nation coffee out of a 40th anniversary Star Wars coffee mug. My hope is that CWK will have you think about the mythology of Star Wars in a whole new way, and hopefully laugh a little bit in the process. Basically, you are among friends as we go to our favorite coffee shop together and talk some Star Wars. On today's show, Aaron Sagers and Neil Harrington join us as we have a breakdown of the character of Beckett from Solo: A Star Wars Story, continuing our thread there. We've had Solo, we've had Lando, we've had Kira, and now we move on to Beckett, Han Solo's surrogate mentor. I guess that's an interesting way to describe it. See what you think after we've talked about this on today's show. We also have San Diego Comic-Con tips with Aaron Sagers, and in the news segment we have some information on casting for episode 9 that is really, really awesome, that I think longtime Star Wars fans are going to be absolutely thrilled about. So pull up a chair, grab your favorite coffee mug, and let's have some coffee with Kenobi.
And now, let's see what's brewing in the Star Wars universe this week.
A couple of things before we kick this show off. For one thing, of course, I'm going to San Diego Comic-Con next week. Love hearing myself say that. I know I've said this on previous shows, but just knowing that I'm going to this nirvana place where all of these amazing events have happened in the history of Star Wars and in comic books and entertainment, I just can't wait to bring the coverage to you. I love covering conventions anyway. Honestly, it is going to be a little bit different, not covering a major con with Corey Club. But hey, he will be there with me in spirit, and I can't wait to bring this with you. I'm going to have a lot of stuff on our CWK Lens, on Instastory, a lot of stuff on Patreon, and it's going to be fantastic. And I am setting up a lot of interviews, which I'm really looking forward to bringing your way. Plus, we're going to have that Clone Wars panel that I'm going to do my very best to get a good seat for, and I'm going to try to live tweet that if at all possible. And as long as the crowds aren't too crazy, and I'm sure they probably will be, but I have faith that we'll be able to kind of navigate through. The Force will be with me, of course. It's going to be tremendous, tremendous fun. Also, I want to thank Tim Drury, who asked me earlier in the year, actually probably late last year, to come to his Rotary Club. And it's a huge organization, of course. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of the Rotary Club. And they're just a bunch of leaders and go-getters in the community. He was kind enough to ask me to speak, and I got to talk to everybody today about how this show got started and about becoming a teacher and just a lot of different things that have kind of helped blend who I am and helping me follow my passion. So again, thank you, Tim.
So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first.
Joining us today for a cup of coffee is on-camera TV host, journalist, and professional nerd, Aaron Sagers.
Hi, guys.
How you doing, Aaron?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on today, Dan.
You bet. Now you are a veteran of Coffee with Kenobi since we had you on when we were at Galactic Nights in May.
I hardly think that makes me a veteran, but that's very kind of you to say. I still feel like I need a couple more appearances before I earn my merit badge or my blazer with the Coffee with Kenobi patch.
Wouldn't that be wonderful? A nice, crisp orange blazer, kind of like winning the Masters. I like that idea. I like that.
I'm always for a good blazer. So yeah.
Okay, noted. Also joining us is freelance Star Wars writer Neil Harrington.
Hey, what's up, guys? Ready to nerd out with you too? Man, let's do this. I'm excited.
Let's do this. Neil and I met for the first time when I did the Denny's event in California. What was that? Was that in May or April?
Gosh, I think it was April. I mean, it seems like many moons ago now.
It was April, now that I mentioned, because it was spring break. Yeah, but Neil and I hit off right away. He actually was not that far away. He's in Missouri. So we had a little bit of baseball talk, which was fun. All right, let's get down to business. The past month, we've been doing solo character breakdowns. We've looked at Han, we've looked at Lando, we've looked at Kira. And now we get into some areas where the characters are not as necessarily pronounced. But that doesn't mean they're any less important. So I thought for today's show, we would look at Beckett and we would look at Enfys Nest. So, gentlemen, let's talk about Beckett first. What kind of character do you think he is? What kind of purpose do you believe that he serves? Yes, we know he's something of a mentor for Solo, but I think there's a little bit more to him than that. What do you think, Aaron?
I think that Beckett is definitely sort of the proto-Solo, the proto-Han, if you will. And what I like about him is even though he ends up, I mean, he is a man of conviction. I will say this, and that conviction is self-serving and it's his own personal mission statement of such, but and he is a scoundrel, but he is one that has his own honor code, and I like that kind of honorable thief, scoundrel personality that he brings to the film Solo, and he also has a bit of that humor and swagger that I think Han draws even more from.
I agree. He's almost like sort of a fountain that I like that draws from. I think that's very, 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 very much in play. Neil, what is it about Beckett that is interesting to you?
Well, first off, right off the bat, I mean, what he does with those blasters is really cool when he flips them around, and even Han makes that remark. So that's my favorite part about him superficially. But yeah, like Aaron said, I mean, he pretty much hit the nail on the head on that. I mean, it's almost a mirror of what Han Solo is going to become, or at least front as for many years. But, you know, just like Kira tells Han, Han's got a heart of gold more so than Beckett. But it's almost like setting the tone for what we're going to see of Han Solo for the next decade or so, of taking on almost like Beckett passing that pistol to him earlier, the DL-44 in the film. He's almost, when Han shoots first here, I mean, we know that for sure, or Han just shoots, that, and at least how I interpret it, Han's taking that mantle from Beckett in that regard.
Right. Yeah. I think so. Go ahead, Aaron.
Oh, and I was going to just add to that. The other thing that I happen to like, I really enjoyed the Solo film. So let me just say that, I am happy to be a big fan of it. But the other thing I happen to like about Tobias Beckett is that one thing that the writers give us is that he has this rich backstory and is connected to the Star Wars history previous to this, for example, Aura Singh. That's something that's interesting to me and kind of falls in line with the tradition of Star Wars, that people show up with a history behind them, things that are connected to other things. And that does not mean I need to see all of those backstories, but it's interesting for me to think about just the fact that this guy's been bouncing around for a while. So who else may he have encountered? Again, I don't need to see all of those stories. I like filling in the backstory myself, but it's kind of cool that he has been around.
Yes, when he announced that that we found out he was the one that, it's not that he killed her, it was the fall that killed her. There is a certain panache to that's somewhat gruesome, but also just very much, it's in line with the charm. And I think Woody Harrelson, of course, he's a pretty impactful, charismatic actor. He's been around for a very long time, And sometimes it's hard when you're watching film. Some actors just can't escape their personas. And I think Woody Harrelson has fallen into that trap on occasion. I don't think he did it as much in The Hunger Games, and I really don't think he did it in Solo. When I was watching Solo, at first I thought, oh, there's Woody Harrelson, but then he started talking and acting and twirling the blasters around and mentoring Han and not mentoring Han and his relationship with Val. And I thought, no, this is Beckett. This is Beckett all the way through and through. And I think he's very interesting. I don't think, we'll talk about the end, of course, but let's talk about his relationship with Val. I read somewhere that Val isn't so much a character as she is an attitude or a temperament, and because she doesn't have a lot of on-screen time. But I do think that she sort of humanizes him. Now, do either of you think that the character of Val was necessary to helping define Beckett, or do you think we had enough of a sample size of him at the beginning anyway that we didn't need that particular character to bounce off of?
Yeah, Dan, that's a good question. I mean, I thought she complimented him really well, because I've heard a lot of criticism of how they use Val. Like, people wanted more screen time, and of course, I mean, she's a fantastic actress, but I thought she was perfect because, I mean, that line that she tells him when they're sitting around the campfire, and she's like, basically says that even this rundown scoundrel, I'm paraphrasing here, like, needs somebody too, and she almost held him down. So whenever she sacrificed himself, I think that really shifted his path from maybe more of a noble, honorable one and a code, like Aaron said, which he still maintains. And that was gone whenever she, sacrificed herself so they can finish the job. So I thought she was a good compliment to him. And I mean, even though we didn't get very much screen time of her, like, her small role in there was very impactful in terms of developing Beckett from that point forward.
I would agree with that. And I understand the criticisms by fans and some of my own colleagues, journalists, about this character, is that some people say that she was a bit of a waste of a character, that she didn't get enough screen time. And I get that. I understand some of their criticisms. But for me, when I look at this character, especially, when you have an actor such as Thandie Newton, who is just an exceptional talent, portraying this character for such a short amount of time, for me, that imbues more importance in Beckett's character. That you have this big actor taking on the role as sort of the partner of this scoundrel, this gangster, not even a gangster. I can't even call Beckett really a gangster, but this grifter. That creates even more tension for me and even more importance in his character, because you have such a gifted actor such as Thandie Newton portraying Val. So I think her character was important. I think it even though she is someone that I could spend more time with, I do feel like her sacrifice and the time that we did get with her on screen was important to kind of adding significance to his character.
So what do the two of you say when people say, well, how did she sacrifice anything? Because she blows up this train track so that they can get away, but of course it doesn't even work. Now, the best laid plans don't always fall, but it's the intent. It's what she's trying to do. And, she has no idea of what's going to happen, but it was a very noble act. But did it have to happen? I guess you could say the same thing about Obi-Wan Kenobi in A New Hope. Really?
Yeah.
I mean, and this is a character she's not necessarily acting with all the information of what's going to happen next. She's doing what she thinks is best at that moment, which lends honesty to it for me. Now, again, I certainly understand the viewpoint of my colleagues, especially people that say, like, this is a rather well-known actor taking on a role in the Star Wars universe, and there's not enough women and not enough people of color in this franchise and this galaxy, and so to kill her off so quickly is doing a disservice to her and to the character. I certainly think that there is merit to that. However, just looking at the story, I think it's honest because she doesn't have all of the information. She sacrifices herself doing what she believes is going to be right to save her crew and her partner, Beckett.
Right, which is obviously the most selfless act of love you can possibly do. And I think that, yes, it would have been nice to spend more time with her, but Star Wars is full of that. There are plenty of characters and great actors that we didn't get to spend enough time with throughout the history of this franchise. And honestly, that I think contributes to some of the mystique of Star Wars and why now that we have all these extended things that are canonical, which I love and spend much more of my free time embracing than I probably should.
Same here.
That's going to fill in some of those gaps. And I'm kind of with you on that, Aaron. Like, I don't necessarily need all of that. I like sort of imagining or sort of some things it's okay to not know everything. That adds a little bit more intrigue. That being said, I think that one of her roles, besides establishing the grit of this entire team, which is very much like an unorthodox family, it does show that he has a softer side, which maybe the intent of that is so that at the very end, when Beckett does betray Han, maybe that is supposed to be more of sort of the punch to the gut, because you see that he's got, at least he spends time with Han. It's not like they spend a lot of time, throwing stones into the pond together or, riding roller coasters like Courtship of Eddie's Father or anything like that. But they obviously have some sort of a bond. That was a really, really old reference. Probably half of our audience.
I know. I
was talking about. Bill Bixby for everyone. That's right. Deep dive. But she does humanize him a little bit, and I think that's interesting. Why don't we go ahead and take a break, and we'll pick this up a little bit later in the show. But when we come back, I'm going to talk to Aaron quite a bit more about San Diego Comic-Con because I need some pointers. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
This is Coffee with Kenobi.
Grab Lando's cape or Solo's dice and pose inside a life-size Topps trading card. Enter your photo on social media for a chance to win autographed prizes and download Star Wars Card Trader to collect new cards every day. Learn more by visiting the Topps booth at the Lucasfilm Pavilion. Our CWK pour-over shows from Patreon continue to garner lots of entertaining discussion and comments, and it's all because of our Patreon contributors. And I'm talking about people like our Coffee with Kenobi family members, Rebecca Raven, Dennis Keithley, Terry Lee, Lieutenant Law, Aaron Harris, Chris Skavarka, Angela Sauce, Mediocre Jedi, Christo Hating, Chris Metz, LJ Souter, Thea Selby, Jeff Ellis, Daz Davies, Christian Dale, Jason Hall, Brian McKinney, Connie Shee, Mike Audette, Jared Cantor, BJ Smith, Eric Struthers, Nick Deco, and Mark Suter. CWK Pour-Over is the Patreon exclusive show that you are able to listen to for a contribution of $5 or more a month. You have access to our back catalog of shows too, and we are set to record our newest one actually tomorrow night, the night after I'm recording tonight's show of Coffee with Kenobi. So it's very exciting. The last one we got pretty deep, actually. We talked about fictional characters that inspired us, and we talked about film and in books, and I really liked it. It's really cool to hear what Tom and Corey think about things that are non-Star Wars related, as well as Star Wars, of course, but this just gives us a canvas to talk about everything on the table. Star Wars, superheroes, films, books, whatever is on our mind at the time. It's a very authentic conversation that I think you'll enjoy. Again, that's just for $5 or more a month. You also have access for $1 or more a month to CWK Lens, as well as our CWK Pour-Over show. And as I get to San Diego Comic-Con, I'm going to be posting a lot of things on Lens for people to get some behind-the-scenes things on. A lot of my commentary videos and pictures and things like that you won't be able to find anywhere else. And if you're a Coffee with Kenobi Patreon contributor, there are coffee mugs, t-shirts, phone cases, a lot of things. And you could possibly host the show Coffee with Kenobi with me 4 times in 1 month. So be sure to go to www.patreon.com/coffeewithkenobi to find out more. You heard me talk at the top of the show about One Nation Coffee. It is the official brew of Coffee with Kenobi, and for good reason. It's amazing coffee. It's delicious. When I'm going to be in Comic-Con next week, I'm going to miss it because this really is the best coffee in the galaxy. Be sure to go to onenationcoffee.com, and if you put in the code Kenobi10, you'll get 10% off your first order. Plus, while you're there, set up a subscription service so you'll never miss that coffee that you're going to grow to love as much as I do. Again, go to www.onenationcoffee.com for more details. We are back, and we are very fortunate that Aaron is on the show with us because Aaron is a San Diego Comic-Con veteran, I think. Now that, I don't know if there's a blazer for that per se, Aaron, but you've been to quite a few Comic-Cons in your day.
Yeah, that is accurate. I don't even know how many I've been to, quite honestly.
Wow.
It does seem like, now, I mean, to be fair, there are some of my friends and personalities out there that are old school Comic-Con nerds that have been going, for decades. I can't say that I've been going for multiple decades, but over a decade. So more than a decade for me. So I would say that, yeah.
I've been to 0.
Yeah.
So anything you say, you could even tell me something that wasn't accurate, and I believe you because you're Aaron, and I think you're a cool dude. But you're just let's
thank you. Let's avoid giving you any incorrect information or tips, though.
I'm not too concerned. So what I've been to numerous celebrations. I've been to cons plenty in my life. I've done a lot of exciting things, but I've never been to San Diego Comic-Con. How is this con different from celebrations or other different Comic-Cons?
Well, I think, as you know, Dan, I've been to a lot of Comic-Cons as well, and I love them. I think every city has a different personality and a different vibe, and it's certainly worth exploring so many different fan events out there. With that said, San Diego Comic-Con really is the big show, and this is the Super Bowl of nerddom, and really, I would say the Super Bowl of popular culture for the year. And what we find out, like all of the reveals, all of the things that we see, will resonate throughout popular culture, not just nerd culture, as we call it sometimes, but popular culture for the next couple of years at least. So that said, like, it's also the most people, it's the most sprawling, it's in many ways the most tiring. It just separates itself in sort of the sheer commitment that it requires, but also the thrill that it delivers.
Interesting. So I've had a lot of people tell me, of course, a lot of different things. One of the main things I keep hearing is that it's going to take me hours to get from one side of the convention floor to the other, and I won't be able to move at all. Can you verify this, or hopefully tell me that's not true?
Hours seems a little bit of a over exaggeration. However, it will take you time, and
I mean, as long as there's room to move, I'm fine with that. I'm not claustrophobic anyway, but there's lots to see.
Well, the challenging part is when you have to be to a place at a certain time, either for an interview, if you're conducting an interview, or you want to attend a panel at a certain time. You need to give yourself a lot of time. Give yourself extra time for literally everything. Whether it's, even if you have a hotel that is a great location right in the Gaslamp district, you are still going to either have to cross the street or cross a footbridge to get to the other side where the convention center is. And that's probably, I would give myself an hour to get from point A to point B. Hours is not necessarily needed, but I would say an hour is probably a safe bet.
And that's just good time management anyway.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it's, you can have fun with it too. I mean, why not have an Instagram story. Throw up an Instagram story as you're walking, or go do a Facebook Live, or take a lot of pictures of cool cosplayers, and along the way, maybe take part in an activation or two, one of the little side events that are taking place on the way. So give yourself time. But with that, I would say if you're going to be doing any kind of tweeting or posting or Instagramming or whatever, you might want to bring a portable, an extra battery for your cell phone. And if you plan on doing any kind of blogging, you want to make certain that you have some extra juice for your laptop as well, because you certainly suck down the battery power at STCC.
And I'm guessing that the celebrations I've been to, the Wi-Fi has been nothing necessarily spectacular. The ones I've been to, I don't remember there being anything special media-wise. But it was always hard to find outlets, so yes, extra battery packs are good. But does San Diego Comic-Con have a good Wi-Fi situation?
It varies. I mean, when you have, they report, 150,000 people officially going to the con. So certainly that's going to be a drain on, I could be wrong with those numbers, but that's what sticks out of my brain. Sure. But yeah, so there's going to be a drain on that signal. However, I have to say that compared to some other really large scale events, and this is not throwing shade on the convention, but I have to say, like, New York Comic Con, which I also enjoy and I love going to, like, the signal at San Diego is better than New York Comic Con. So it's not the worst, but it certainly can be a drain as far as wanting to get those posts through and everything. Sure. And if you happen to be in Hall H and you want to file a story, or you want to send out a tweet about some sort of breaking news, good luck, because that's when it's going to be prime time for sending messages through. So that could be in Hall H at that time. That's when it gets a little bit ugly.
Time to switch over to data then at that point.
Even then, good luck getting that message through.
So you mentioned Hall H. What is have you been to certain Hall H presentations that have really stood out? Like, were you at the one where Tom Hiddleston was there as Loki?
I've been to multiple Hall H's. Yes, I was at that one. Wow. And I'm not saying this simply because of the audience right now. I would say the most magical one for me was the Force Awakens panel. Sure. Where through some sources, I had heard that Harrison Ford was going to be there. Still, even though I heard that when he took the stage, it was pretty amazing. But J.J. Abrams announced that. We saw that sort of behind the scenes reel, which was epic and spectacular and magical. But then JJ said, like, we want to bring you all to this live concert just at the band shell down the road. It really stood out as perhaps the purest and most perfect San Diego Comic-Con moment I have ever had, and I believe it remains so. I mean, walking into the park and being handed a lightsaber to hold up when a live symphony is playing John Williams' music, like, that's, you can't beat that. So that remains my favorite moment at San Diego Comic-Con and at Hall H. And it really lived up to the magic that San Diego Comic-Con can provide.
That is iconic because, like all the things you mentioned in the special concert and Harrison being there, because he's only been, is that the only Comic-Con he's ever been to? I know he did an appearance via video for Crystal Skull, but that's really his only actual geographic appearance. Is that right?
I don't want to commit and say, I thought that he might have been at Cowboys and Aliens a few years prior.
You're right, yeah.
But you probably need to fact check me on that one.
No, I think you're right. Yeah, if only we had a way of accessing that. If only we had a machine that could find out facts quickly. Well, maybe someday.
Someone should get on that.
Yeah, if only. Very good. Well, so you, again, you've been there, and you've been there as a fan as well as professionally. But what kind of tips would you give to fans besides myself who are going to Comic-Con for the first time? What kind of advice would you give to them? Because this is, as you said, this is like the ultimate comic book convention, because you've got comics, you've got film, you've got TV, and this is really kind of where it all started. What kind of tips would you give for first timers of this convention?
Well, first off, I'm going to sound so old. However, I'm sticking with this piece of advice. Wear comfortable shoes. You need comfy shoes. You're going to spend a lot. Like if you're tracking your steps on the Fitbit, you're gonna hit those suckers in spades. So wear some comfy shoes. It's absolutely necessary. Like I said, have an extra battery, an external battery. When you show up at the con, you get a nice big bag to put all of your goodies in. For me, that bag is I don't know. It's great, but it's a little too much for me. I prefer to have my own bag on me that I know how I can fit stuff into and still make it comfortable. So I think having a good bag is important. Stay hydrated. That's incredibly necessary. It's going to be hot out there. So you want to make certain you're drinking lots of water, and, also protect yourself against the sun as far as have a good hat, have some sunscreen on. God, I sound so old giving you all this advice.
No, it's good. It's good.
Maybe carry some snacks on you. Oh my God, I'm only sounding older. I'm not going to sound like anybody's grandmother and say carry a sweater.
Take your vitamins.
Although that's probably a good idea too. But I think the thing really is that you're not going to be able to do everything you want to do. It's just a fact. Like there's so much going on. You're just not going to be able to hit everything you want to do. So have sort of your A list, your B list, your C list, what you want to do, what you hope to do, like your absolute must. And be okay with the fact that if you don't do everything, you're still doing a lot. And I think that that's important because look, people are spending a lot of money to be there, and it is a heck of a lot of fun. And you want to make certain that you're actually having fun. If you get so caught up in a schedule that you're never going to be able to meet, you're going to start getting a little bit disappointed. So, make certain that you know what you're willing to do, what you're willing to not do, and then just have fun along the way.
Sure. Well, I downloaded the Comic-Con app, or it said on the Apple Store that it was the official Comic-Con app, and then I clicked it and it said information not available, and it directed me to WonderCon. So I'm wondering, maybe there's a better app to go to, or maybe that was just a weird glitch.
I don't know offhand about that. I mean, I know that there's the standard San Diego Comic-Con app, or maybe, they might be in the process of updating it as well. But, when you go on to whatever app store that you use, you can see which one is going to be the official one and go with that. However, do your research in advance. If you show up the day of the con, whether you're showing up on a Wednesday or a Thursday, and you haven't thought about any of this stuff, it's going to be very overwhelming. And obviously you're going to be dealing with a lot of lines. Lines are a reality at San Diego Comic-Con. So do some advanced research now and start figuring out, what you're excited about.
So what is it like getting in the con? Because Celebration Orlando famously was not a pleasant situation to try to get inside because it would just seem sort of a mess. So what are the lines like to get inside there?
Well, I have to say that I do get to cheat a little bit as a journalist. I get a press badge, so there is a entrance for press.
The Comic-Con.
Even that can be, yeah, and that can also be long, and that can be not an exceptional wait, but you might be waiting a few minutes. However, yeah, there are lines. I would say that it's fairly efficiently run. However, if you're showing up right when the doors open, there's going to be a crush of people. The great thing about San Diego Comic-Con, however, is there are people that go to the city and never step foot inside the convention center and still have an amazing con experience. And that's because there are so many activations and events and things that you can go to just as a member of the public. You don't even necessarily need a badge. Some you do, some you do not. And so if, instead of showing up right when the doors open, maybe go do something else and then go in like an hour or two later to kind of reduce your time in the lines.
Sure. Now, you did mention this has just become the Help Dan show, which, I appreciate that because it'll help me bring more content to our Coffee with Kenobi family members. But the media entrance, is there just one media entrance or will it be easy for me to find multiple opportunities?
It's pretty much one section of doors. So you'll be able to see the main media entrance. It's pretty clearly marked and pretty easy to get through when you have your media badge.
Okay, which that I have because they sent it, of course, to us in advance. But do they give you lanyards or do you have to bring your own? Because it didn't come that nice little box.
That is a good question about the lanyards. You should bring your own lanyard. You can probably find some lanyards at the con. However, you might have, so you will probably be handed a lanyard upon entrance. And they can be helpful, but I don't find that they're necessarily the best lanyard, and it's probably good to have your own. I think last year I actually used a Star Wars Celebration lanyard because it was a nice thick lanyard. It was kind of decorative, kind of showed off a bit of my nerddom. But I don't assume that I'm going to get a lanyard. I like to get my own, bring my own kind of themed lanyard.
Okay, good. That's good to know. And I've got a selection I'm looking at right now in the studio, so that gives me good ideas. Yeah, the Celebration ones are nice. Now, the one last thing before we move on to our news segment. There are obviously, besides the opportunities in the panels, and a lot of the major corporations and companies and studios have their own exhibits. The Lucasfilm one, at least what I saw online, appears to have the biggest piece of real estate set out for its presentation. What have you seen from the Lucasfilm section of San Diego Comic-Con in the past that gets you excited about this year?
Well, I mean, it's Lucasfilm, so I always know that I'm going to be excited to, whatever they're putting on display, I'm going to be excited about it, whether it's going to be, I don't know if it's going to be a costume display or what. And previously we've seen some costume displays, seeing like any new merchandise or, books that are either coming out from the publishing division, or are out. Those things excite me. But really, I mean, it's just that it's a hub for fandom. So, if you're a fan, which if you're listening to this podcast, you are, I'm guessing, it's a safe assumption. There's going to be something for you there to enjoy and geek out over. Now, with that said, if you've got a packed schedule of panels, or if you're doing interviews or whatever you may be doing, it can be difficult to get over there. So for me, my schedule typically allows on Wednesday night, which is the preview night, is when I go to the Lucasfilm booth, the display. And then also I try to get over there on Sunday. So those are kind of my sandwich days. Those are my cushions to get over there and check out the things I want. I will say that if you have your eye on any merchandise that you want to buy anywhere throughout the con, don't wait until Sunday, because there's a lot of people, and it might be sold out. It probably will be sold out go ahead and get it as soon as you know that that's the thing that you want. Unless you just like to leave it up to the universe to decide for you. But buy early if you know that you definitely want to get something.
Very, very good. Thank you, Aaron, for that. That gives me good peace of mind. It's actually really good advice. A lot of what you said is good advice for celebrations as well. So definitely be sure to think about that as you're planning your convention excitement for next April 11th to 15th for Comic-Con, for Celebration Chicago, which will be fun. Aaron, I'm assuming you're going to that as well.
I hope so. I mean, that's the plan.
Good deal. Well, we will definitely see you there. As hopefully Neil will see you there as well, since you are in locally, or you're pretty close to the Chicago area.
Yeah, I'm in Springfield, Missouri, so not too far away. I will be there. Awesome.
Well, let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, Tom will bring us the latest Star Wars news. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
This is Vanessa Marshall, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
Don't forget to download Star Wars Card Trader free in the Apple, Amazon, and Google Play stores, as visitors who have the app downloaded on their mobile device will gain access to San Diego Comic-Con exclusive cards. Be sure to follow Top Star Wars Card Trader on Twitter at TopsSWCT and Tops Digital on Facebook and Instagram during the show to learn more. And when I'm at San Diego Comic-Con, of course, I'm going to need a nice, clean, comfortable shave. I don't know that I have a lot of time between now and then, to be honest, to run out to the store and find different razor blades that match up and all this kind of stuff, and to get the shaving cream and aftershave. And I don't have to worry about any of that thanks to Harry's Razors. Harry's Razors is awesome, it's convenient, and it really does give you a great, smooth, comfortable shave. That's what I love about Harry's. And besides that, the shave gel is amazing. The glide, the weight of the razor handle, it's really, really awesome. Harry stands behind the quality of their blades, but they also know that switching razors is not an easy decision. We're loyal, right? We're loyal people. But this is the deal. They created a trial offer just for you. Claim yours by going to harrys.com/CWKFamily. Harry's founders were fed up with overpaying for expensive razors with unnecessary features. They knew a great shave comes down to great blades made with sharp, durable steel that lasts. And that's why they bought a factory that's been making some of the highest quality blades in the world for over 95 years. By selling directly to you over the internet, Harry's can offer their blades at a price much lower than the leading brand. Just $2 per blade compared to $4 or more. And it's a quality guarantee. If you don't love your shave, you let Harry's know within 30 days and they'll give you a full refund. Simple as that. Get a $13 value trial set that comes with everything you need for a close, comfortable shave. A weighted ergonomic handle, 5-blade razor with a lubricating strip and trimmer blade, rich lathering shave gel, and a travel blade cover. Listeners of my show can redeem their trial set at harrys.com/CWKFamily. Make sure you go to harrys.com/CWKFamily to redeem your offer and let them know I sent you to help support the show. A lot of major news today in our Star Wars news segment. Tom, what's going on in the world of Star Wars?
Well, news this week has turned all eyes to Star Wars Episode 9. So let's get started. After a few weeks of rumors, The Hollywood Reporter has confirmed that Billy D. Williams will reprise his role of Lando Calrissian in Star Wars Episode 9. The recent rumors swirled around the actor bowing out of an upcoming sci-fi and pop culture convention, citing conflict with a movie schedule. Well, sources confirmed with The Hollywood Reporter that indeed Williams will be returning to the franchise. Billy D. Williams has had his foot back in the Star Wars galaxy in recent years, as he has voiced Calrissian in various cartoon series and video games, and he was a His character made a brief timeline appearance prior to The Force Awakens in Chuck Wendig's Aftermath series. And of course, Williams was present at the 40th anniversary Star Wars celebration in Orlando 2017. Well, filming of Episode 9 will begin later this summer.
Well, this is obviously fantastic. We've been wanting this for a long time. And this is a guy that seems to enjoy life and he loves, the character he's portraying. So this is very exciting. But you can't help but wonder, was this always in the works or did this sort of change with the passing of Carrie Fisher. What do you think, Aaron?
That's a good question. I mean, first off, I echo your sentiment that this is certainly something that I think fans want to see. It's as a fan myself, it's something that I want to see. I certainly want to see Billy D return, and it was something that I back in I don't know, I guess 2012 when they first announced that Disney was taking over. I had a chance to talk to Billy D. Williams about a potential return, so it was something that was on my mind, way back when. It's a good question. I do wonder whether or not it's been in the cards all along. I suspect not. I do think that perhaps Carrie Fisher passing away did sort of escalate this need and want and plan. I'm happy to see him back, and I kind of hope that he gets the Millennium Falcon back at the end of episode 9. Just saying.
Oh my! Oh, I never thought about that. Neil, what about you? Are you happy to see Billy D back? Are you surprised?
I'm surprised and I'm thrilled. Like all those emotions. I mean, it's perfect because, especially with the untimely passing of Carrie Fisher, I mean, we almost need a original trilogy character with swagger to come back. And Mark Hamill, I'm sure, will appear as a Force ghost or in some entity, or his presence is definitely felt. And in The Last Jedi, Harrison Ford's presence was felt throughout the entire film. But having Lando Calrissian in it, but I think one thing that would be wise for Lucasfilm, Abrams, and the writers to do, because Luke's character was fantastic, but he was broken, beaten down, and then returned as a hero and then sacrificed himself. And then with Carrie Fisher, same thing, that strong presence, but she's injured, and then who knows what they're going to do with her character now. But having Billy D. Williams show up with charisma and not actually killing him off, but just being a spark of life for it, whether he still is in Cloud City, or who knows, he might own Canto Bight. I mean, there's so many ways they can work him in it, but I think keeping him as just the same smoothie, the old smoothie realm, and just keeping him alive in it is the best way to go. But yeah, I'm honestly, I'm shocked because I thought he wasn't going to be in it. I thought, if he was going to be in it, the perfect place would be in episode 8 and, The Last Jedi for him to own Canto Bight. And they, Rian Johnson chose a different direction, and I was okay with it. So I just kind of moved on from it. So when I saw rumors building up, I'm like, they're just rumors. And then of course it dropped the other day, and I was like, I'm at a loss for words. I'm actually really excited.
Well, I was ready to write rumors off as rumors, but the one thing it makes me think is, what about Lobot? In other casting news.
What happened to that guy?
In other casting news, sources have told Variety magazine that Kerry Russell will be joining Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Oscar Isaac, and Adam Driver in Star Wars Episode 9. Russell, who is known for her ability to perform her own stunts on FX's The Americans, as well as Mission Impossible and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, joined several actresses in discussion for filling a spot in the cast. And in the Variety's source says that director J.J. Abrams and Lucasfilm settled with Russell in early July. It is unknown who or what character Russell will be in the film, or even whether her character will be a part of the First Order or Resistance, but it is the kind of news that makes the film just seem a little closer to reality.
Doesn't it, though? And she's such an amazing actress and such an amazing on-screen presence, and she's got sort of the best of both worlds because she's very, very powerful, and she can be very, very discreet, but whenever she's on screen, something is going to happen. And The Americans, I mean, that is some powerful television. I mean, this is nice, and plus it's kind of cool to see her working with JJ again. Aaron, I'm assuming you're a fan of The Americans?
Yeah, it's a great show, and
you've probably been on the set.
I have not been on the set of The Americans. That's since a lot of my work is focused on specifically genre stuff. I haven't been on the set, but just watched it as a fan, and I think that she's an amazing actor, and certainly excited to see her join Star Wars, I am going to be the one that says this. I really hope she is not Rey's mom. I know people have been hoping for this, and the internet machine has been going in overdrive, just saying oh, maybe she's. No, I don't want her to be Rey's. I want her to be an entirely new, different, compelling character. Don't be Rey's mom. Don't be Rey's mom, Carrie. If you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi, which I'm sure you are, JJ, Carrie, don't be Rey's mom.
I wish that I had a sound bite that I played when I was about to go on a Death Star rant, but I agree with you. And she doesn't need Rey's parents are not an important factor. It was very, very clear in the cave that she's good enough by herself. She doesn't need to have pedigree, to have value, to have weight, and that is something that she lifts those rocks at the end of the film. But she's also lifting this pressure and this weight off of herself that she has to be defined by someone she doesn't even know that she feels abandon her. So yes, I agree that we don't need that. We don't need that. She can be herself. Let Carrie Russell be whoever.
Well, okay, I will say this, and I don't want to take up too much time, but the one thing that I saw that did intrigue me, and this is courtesy of my colleague Donna Dickens. She said, "Please let her be Mara Jade."
Oh boy!
And I don't think that's going to be the case. However, since we've seen sort of this embrace of, the expanded universe, and we've seen sort of, slowly little things, we're seeing, we've got Thrawn again. Thrawn is back in our midst, so I'm like, oh man, that is actually intriguing to me. I don't think she is, but it was this little nugget that just kind of the seed that planted itself into my brain. So
I don't know.
You don't
want her to be Jackson? Is that what you're saying?
Jackson.
No.
Neil, any thoughts on Carrie before? No. Neil, any thoughts on Carrie before we go on to our last story?
Yeah, I mean, this, we're talking about all of us being old, so I might as well just embrace that fact.
I'm not old. I'm just really wise and got a lot of.
Yes, I like that word better. So being the wise man that I am, I've been a Carrie Russell fan ever since I was 9-10 years old. And she made that cameo on Boy Meets World and all that stuff. And obviously, I mean, you mentioned her working with J.J. Abrams again. I mean, J.J. Abrams was lead writer on Felicity, which that's an underrated show. I mean, it's fantastic. So the fact bringing Carrie Russell back to work with J.J., whether she's Rey's mom or, Resistance or First Order or whoever, I think they're going to be able to spark that magic again. I think it's a great casting, and bringing those two back and having JJ with the opportunity to work with somebody that not only is he familiar with, but somebody that's as talented as Carrie Russell is a fantastic idea.
Well, I suspect this will be a topic that will be discussed for, a year and a half or so? Well, let's move on to our last story. We cannot have a July news segment without a little San Diego Comic-Con. So, Hasbro released information this week about a new exclusive Forces of Destiny set, Chewbacca and the Porgs. This set will be sold at the Hasbro toy booth at the convention. Get your money ready, Dan, because the set includes an 11-inch Chewbacca figure, 2 Porg figures, now get this, a Porglet nest with 2 babies, and 2 accessories come with the set as well. It will retail at $49.99. And according to Hasbro, here's Hasbro's description. The Chewbacca figure is lavishly furry and makes true to entertainment sounds when activated, while the Porg figures feature soft flocking that makes them a delight to hold and feel. The package carefully recreates the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon, making a perfect display and is sure to delight collectors and fans alike.
And I wasn't sure, but the fact that it's lavishly furry, I think, is what's got me the most interested. That's some spectacular advertising, that sort of writing is good stuff. So as far as this goes, I'm sorry, excuse me. Everybody I've ever known in my life has been pestering me to pick this up for them at Comic-Con because Porgs are so darn cute. I'm sure your daughters were very excited about this, Tom.
Yeah, I have to say, though, Okay. And now I'm going to make this comment, and I mean it in all seriousness.
Oh, I like this already.
Because it is an exclusive. This is not going to sit on shelves there's no Toys R Us anymore. It's not going to sit on shelves in Walmart and Target. But I really think, now call me insensitive, whatever you want to call me, but I really think it should have had a roasted porg in the set.
Oh, no. Too soon. Come on, Tom.
No, my girls are so excited. I do mean that, because I think what speaks more to fans as an exclusive
than
agree. a roasted porg. But my girls
Pop.
Pardon?
That'd be a good Funko Pop.
Or even like at the snack bar at Comic-Con, they can have roasted pork.
There you go.
I love that.
Like the roasted turkey legs. I have those big old turkey legs. Just have a pork version. I mean,
it's brilliant. Do you remember when porgs were first a thing, and we sort of made it a goal to try to see how many times we could say the word porg on a show?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad we don't do that anymore. Yeah.
But to answer your question,
Aaron, how do you feel about porgs? Yeah. I personally think they're awfully adorable.
I'm pro porg. I mean, especially with a little Szechuan sauce. And,
there you go.
Good rotisserie. But yeah, I love the porgs.
That's good stuff. Well, Tom, hey, thank you so much for bringing us the latest Star Wars news.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Let's go ahead and take a break. And when we come back, we're going to look a little bit more at Beckett. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
This is Coffee with Kenobi.
Heading to San Diego Comic-Con? Stop by the top Star Wars card trader booth in the Lucasfilm Pavilion and take your photo inside a life-size Topps trading card. Post your photos to social media for a chance to win prizes and download Star Wars Card Trader to build your Star Wars collection. One Nation Coffee is the official brew of Coffee with Kenobi. Four lifelong friends had this idea that has grown to some of the best coffee you're ever going to have. It smells amazing and tastes even better. So go to www.onenationcoffee.com to set up a coffee subscription and help get your morning started off the right way. And if you enter the code Kenobi10, you'll get 10% off your first order. It's the middle of July. You still want to take that summer vacation, and you really ultimately want to go to Disney World or Disneyland, but you think, oh my gosh, I don't have time. I don't really know what I'm doing. I haven't been there in a while. So much has changed. What's the easiest way to do this and still make it affordable? Well, you go to MEI and Mouse Fan Travel, of course. They are the official travel agency of Coffee with Kenobi, and they've got you covered with signature service and expert advice to help clients maximize their vacation time and dollar. They're going to help your family enjoy everything the Disney theme parks have, plan every detail, and they're going to share invaluable tips with you to make all your family's Disney dreams come true. Check out www.mousefantravel.com today and make the magic happen for you. We are back, and we're going to talk a little bit more about Beckett, as I said earlier in the show. The only thing really I think that I would like to address with him, at least on show number 133, is the ending. And it's that scene when everyone's looking at the door, and the door slides to the side, and Beckett walks through. Tell me, Neil, your reaction when you saw Beckett walk through that door for the first time and you found out he was the traitor.
Yeah, honestly, it wasn't that surprising, but I thought it was fitting. And actually with Beckett, and stop me if you're going to get to this a little bit later, but I thought it was really well done at the end when Han shoots. Han shoots first, and they could have made that really cheesy. Like, he could have been like, always shoot first, kid. Always, like something, just really bad and awful, but they made that really natural. And I thought that scene too, when he walked in, even though I was kind of expecting it, like, it was well done. I thought it was really just fitting of, foreshadowing of what Han, like we've already talked about before, is going to do, because Beckett is just, he betrays an evil man in, Dryden Voss. And, that really doesn't bug me a whole lot. I'm kind of glad that he turns on him, and Han's observing all this, and that's kind of the route he takes for a while himself. But even though it wasn't that shocking, I thought it was well done.
Aaron, what about you?
No, I would agree with that. And the thing I would add to that is, it wasn't necessarily shocking. it was satisfying, and it was a good payoff, and which I think is like a nice cinematic move, that even when you know that thing is going to happen, it still is satisfying when it does happen. And I think that was a good storytelling maneuver by the filmmakers. Now, I would think that the thing that I would add to that is, for me, Beckett is a guy that he's very smart, and he always seems like he is 2 steps ahead, right? But not really. Like, he doesn't have all of the information. And so even in that scene, there was like a little bit of surprise as things were playing out, but he is a character that is constantly adjusting and constantly, like, adapting to the situation. And that just, it further enhances the character for me.
When he first walked through that door, I remember having 2 conflicting ideas going through my mind at the time. The first one was, oh, that's disappointing, because I really enjoyed him and how he was working with Han, and because there's a 10-year gap between this film and A New Hope, who knows? Who knows what would happen? But then I also conversely thought, well, this makes sense. Of course it's going to happen, because you have to set up some sort of a conflict, because he's not around in A New Hope. But it was still unfortunate. How did you both feel about Han's reaction? Because, at first Beckett says, don't give me that look, kid. I told you not to trust anybody. When I heard that line, I got that, and I understand that it was basically telegraphed, whether your spider sense was tingling the first time you saw it or not. But it was too bad. But again, this is another reason why I feel like this moment was something of a missed opportunity, because with Han, whether the reaction to Beckett, because while he seems clearly upset then, at the end of the story, even when he has to kill his mentor and kind of perpetuate this myth of redemptive violence, he doesn't appear to be heartbroken by it. It doesn't seem to impact or explain why he's so cynical or jaded, really. At least I don't think so.
Yeah, Dan, that's a good point. I mean, yeah, they could have expanded on that during that initial scene where he walks in, and yeah, you're right. I didn't really think about that. It really did not explain why Han was so jaded. I think, honestly, and it's already been talked about, but with Kira, like, I think was a little more thought out and played out in terms of Han being jaded, because she betrays him, and you can tell that really had a lasting impact on him. But yeah, Dan, I think you're right. It does, in terms of Beckett's character. They could have taken that to the next level as well, in terms of roughening Han's outlook on the galaxy and all that.
See, I don't even think that she betrays him either. I think she saves his life.
I think it's a mix of both. I mean, she's obviously like, obviously
leave with him, but that was never really a promise. She told him
that's true
on the planet that that she basically, that's not going to work. That's not who she is. But Aaron, what were you going to say?
Well, I mean, I guess kind of speaking of both Kira and Beckett, like I think what we're seeing here is, in this story where we've seen so many, light versus dark, Han was a character that was presented in shades of gray, and even within Solo, we're seeing a lot of that, and these characters inform that, that it's not just someone saving or betraying. It's not someone just it's a lot of gray. Like, all of these characters in this film are gray, and Han is learning to be gray. He's learning to operate in the middle, and even though he's one of the good guys, as Kira tells him, he's still operating within these shades of gray. So I think everything that Beckett is doing is just sort of further informing and reinforcing what will become Han's philosophy as far as that goes. Operate within the gray. Sometimes you got to shoot first. Sometimes you got to, run out on someone and betray someone. Sometimes, like, maybe you've taken a fondness to a princess and some farm boy from Tatooine, but you still got to scoot out of there to pay off your debts. Like, even though you may be leaving them to die. like these are, I think you can see the parallels there. So that's, I think that's kind of what works for me, is like informing these ideas of gray throughout.
Right. Yeah, this is something where I hope to see more about Beckett and what makes him tick. I know there was a comic about him that I haven't got a chance to peruse yet, but again, more interesting things. One of the things I've loved so much about this film was these actors and the way they just chewed up scenery, and there was legitimate chemistry, and they very much disappeared into these characters, and they just made it so fun. I enjoyed spending time with these characters on screen because of these actors and the energy they put into this, and Woody Harrelson is no exception at all.
Right. And I would add to that I don't want to exaggerate things and say that these are the most human characters that we've seen in Star Wars thus far. That's not true, but in the real world, people do operate they're not all good and not all bad. You know, they operate according to their motives and selecting the best kind of options afforded to them at a given moment. And that's not always necessarily the most ethical, moral choice, you know? So, and I think that these actors kind of bring that out, that it was a fun movie for me. It was a fun romp. It was a good caper. But it's also like, these are deeply flawed characters, and much like everyone that moves about on terra firma right here, you know, we are all deeply flawed.
Absolutely, indeed. That's a good place to end this. You know, I was going to have this be half of a Beckett conversation, half Memphis Ness, but you both brought up some interesting points about Beckett that added this conversation. If it's one thing Coffee with Kenobi continues to show me, is that because of the art of conversation and talking with awesome people like the two of you, it just adds so much more to this canvas of Star Wars and fandom. So thank you so much. Let's go ahead and take our last break. When we come back, we will close out the show. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are the podcast you're looking for. This is...
Before we get to email, I want to thank our CWK sponsors, Tops Digital, One Nation Coffee, Harry's Razors, and Mouse Fan Travel. Please support them the way they support our podcast. And remember to listen to new and archive shows of Coffee with Kenobi wherever you listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Stitcher, Spreaker, Overcast, Blog Talk Radio, Player FM, or our website, www.coffeewithkenobi.com. And if you listen to the show through iTunes, please leave us a review. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, and Tumblr, and we'd love for you to check us out there. Also, be sure to listen to our CWK family of shows, including Legends Library, Rebels Reactions, Comics with Kenobi, and Lattes with Leia. Please leave a review for each of their shows as well, and be sure to subscribe to each of them individually, as they all have their own feeds now. A big thank you to Aaron Sagers and Neil Harrington for joining us today. Go ahead and let everyone know where they can find you and your contributions to Star Wars fandom. And Aaron, let's start with you.
First off, thanks so much for having me on here. It's great fun, and I'm happy to come back anytime. And in the meanwhile, you can reach out to me and say hi on Twitter and Instagram at Aaron Sagers, AARON SAGERS, and also catch me on Facebook.
Yeah, I'm currently a Star Wars free agent, Star Wars freelancer. But in terms of social media, you can catch me on Twitter at Air Force Neil 3, and then I'm on Facebook and Instagram and all that, and just love talking Star Wars. And I echo what Aaron says. I mean, awesome time being here, and I got a long ways to go to get my green jacket here. I'm still a rookie on Kenobi, and still need to bite my teeth at San Diego Comic-Con, but it's an honor to be here with you folks.
Hey, an honor to be on with both of you, and we will have the Coffee with Kenobi seamstress get to work on those orange jackets for the both of you. That's going to do it for show 133. I want to thank everybody again for listening to and supporting Coffee with Kenobi and for contributing to the Star Wars conversation. We will be back next week for our San Diego Comic-Con blowout show, and also be sure to check out Patreon Lens and Insta Story and Twitter and Facebook, because I plan on having lots of coverage and photos there. So much more to come as always. Thank you so much, everybody. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
There's no one here. Move along.